the hour 6,000 of doing this space. Don't mind.
Yeah, you've been
Are we
down there
live?
for 2 hours. Yeah, we just went live. They were just
Sick.
yeah.
Hey, we survived.
Perfectionist today. Wee.
Yeah, Rue's been down. You've been down there for what, an hour and a half, 2 hours already. That's okay. We get a makeup video and a podcast.
The eyes are almost done. Give me like 30 more.
There you go.
Oh, how's everybody doing?
Surviving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's
Mm-hmm.
what I don't like is many things have changed and yet nothing has changed. You know, like we know that shit's hitting the fan. It's just that trickle down hasn't quite.
It's a slow motion burn.
Yeah, it's a really slow burn, and it's hard when you're already woke and unplugged, right? Because you're like, I know it's coming, I know it's coming, and also when you don't have a ton of resources to prepare for the shitstorm that's coming, you're like, okay, you know, me and my duct tape will take over the world. You know? It's it's tough. It's like a tough feeling. But also you have to balance it out with a lot more people are getting activated and a lot more people are woke. You know, a lot more people are being like, "Whoa, hold on, this is no good. This is not what we want." So
Fascism is no bueno.
yeah, fascism is indeed no bueno. So, it's a roller coaster ride, I think, for me in particular. You know, I'm trying not. It's a roller coaster ride in between hope and despair. It's like hope we're fighting the good fight. Here we are, and then other moments I'm like, we're so fucked. Everything is fucked. Like the world is burning to the ground. That's just how I am usually. I kind of flip from one end of the extreme scale to the other probably because I'm an Aries and I don't know of any other way to function so other than extreme. So we were just kind of talking about Aries and whatnot before we started recording. So yeah, that's just how I've been handling everything at large. How's everyone else handling?
I'm pretty good. I'm tired. I'm like slowly trying to work on this really boring analysis essay for school, and it's really dry. It's we have to read Tacitus, who was a Roman historian and politician, and he wrote one of his works is called the Germania, in which he discusses the ancient Germans, but he's critiquing the Roman Empire at the same time. And essentially, we have to analyze his critiques, and we have to draw parallels to his technique for criticizing to modern literature or film. And the only thing that that came to my mind was I had just sent you a clip of it, the Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
Margaret Atwood's, and I was gonna kind of compare it that way, but I'm hoping it's good. I really am, because I really need the good grade, because I suck at testing.
So the whole point is to take what he wrote and like compare it to like what's a modern piece of media that is comparable to this.
How does his techniques for criticizing compare to 21st century literature or film?
Yeah, that's yeah, that is kind of dry. Like especially like
the work that I have to read, like the actual the article that like the Germania itself is so boring, boring.
Is that like English literature class that you're taking?
It's a history class.
Gotcha. Okay.
Distant past. It's so boring, so boring. And of course, it's causing like task paralysis. I mean, I'm doing pretty good. Like I have my intro done, and I have like a basic outline done. But when I tell you trying to actually get into the body of this paper, I'm just like, I don't wanna.
I forgot to post.
Oh, there's nothing that academia and evil love more than banality.
Well, Live, come hang out.
We're just in here shit talking to ghosts.
I forgot to post.
Ah, it's fine.
Oop. Anyway, you all saw that live. Ain't that something?
Boom diggity.
Yep. Alright, we're back. Back to our faces. Well, that's good. I mean, I'm just glad you're in school because I know you want to stay committed to the schooling thing, and
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I'm back. Like, you know, it feels good to be doing something, to be doing anything at all, and I'm trying to like, in general, get my shit together. Like, I have I'm gonna be finally getting my ID renewed after having it outdated for 3 years.
So proud of you.
I know. I have the what you call it, the what is it? I think it's called like the camera card where you take it and then you bring it there and you don't have to wait in
Yeah.
line kind of thing.
yeah, I just had to
So
do that.
I have the camera card downstairs. I was supposed to go Saturday, but I was doing the paper and
Yeah.
I lost track of time and they close at 4 on Saturdays. So I have to wait. I'll probably do it on Tuesday after class. I'll go right to the DMV from class. And then just go home and work on my paper.
Yeah.
The picture process is usually quick. So
I also found, speaking of the picture, I found a barber I want to go to, not too far
you?
from here.
Uh,
Yeah, it's pretty close to my gym, and it's super small, and it looks kind of chill. It doesn't look, super dude broy.
Yeah, that's me and Rue. We've been on the search for a new hair place, one that we could both kind of go to. I don't care about going to a barber versus a salon. It really doesn't matter to me. I don't have much hair on my head, so.
I like the barber because the beard thing.
And that is kind of what I was realizing, though, is I kind of actually might want to find a barber instead because I have less hair on my head now. I think I have more hair on my face than I do on my head. And
Also, like, apparently a trim with
Yeah.
a straight razor is peerless.
yeah, I have heard. But also barbers are like fucking expensive. It's like $40 fucking dollars at this one around here, and I'm like, for a fucking.
It's like special occasion. You're not supposed to do it constantly. Like, guys who go to the barber have like a big date or like a big show or like are going to like a expo or something after,
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of like finding stuff, there is an app that's actually not horrible. It's called Everywhere is Queer. And it has all sorts of stuff. Like you can like look up like you can look up barbers, you could look up gyms, you could look up like whatever, like queer friendly or queer owned spaces.
Yeah.
And it catalogs like queer spaces and stuff for
That's cool. I could use a queer gym to work
yeah,
out.
everywhere is queer. I know. I wish there was more queer gyms, by the way.
Yes, that would be ideal.
I'm in Toronto. If I'm going to find one anywhere in Canada, it's going to be here, Montreal, or Vancouver.
Gay, and gay. No. At the gay town, or the gay.
Gay, and gayest.
Yes.
It's. I will
It's the
say
gayest. Everybody knows it's Montreal. Sorry, go ahead.
Is it
It's a
really?
compliment. I love Montreal. It is the most. It is okay. Look, if you're not from Canada, it is one of the most queer-centric places I know. Simply because the cost of living is a lot more equitable, so a lot more lower-income people go there because you're not gonna. You don't have to pay like fucking $1,200 in rent for your own place, right? Like if I were to pay what I'm paying here in Montreal, I could probably afford an entire place by myself for the price that I have to pay to stay in a unlicensed sublet at a friend's house, right?
Right.
Which, like, he's not going to kick me out. He's one of the best people I could live with, right? It's a 10 out of 10 situation here. But that's for, like, Toronto, right? You compare that to, like, Montreal, and it's, like, it's great. There's tons of gays there, tons of lesbians, tons of fucking trans people, like you name it. It is kind of like queer mecca in Canada. You'd expect it to be Vancouver, and it kind of is because that's like West Coast. But out here, like, nah, everybody knows Fag City's Montreal. Shout out to my Montreal queers. I love you.
We'll have to. I really do want to.
And you don't have to speak French. It's such a fucking misnomer.
Yeah, I do want to take like the Canadian tour one day. You know, like
I mean, I want to fucking take the Canadian tour one day.
Yeah, like at the three major, at least at, like the three major cities. You know that I don't.
You're easier doing it in 2 legs, and there's a couple other major cities depending on what you want to do.
East versus West.
Yeah, like if you're spending the time to come to Canada, another great trip to do. Not that I like Calgary, but like I'm telling you, the Rocky Mountains. Like if you fly into Calgary and you either go to Canmore or Banff. Banff is a little bit past Canmore. Canmore is actually quite close, which is why it's kind of expensive as fuck there. But I haven't stayed in Banff, and I wouldn't imagine it's much cheaper because it's got everybody knows fucking Banff. It's damn near national acclaim, right? So if you haven't been to Banff or Canmore and you have the options to, I couldn't express it more. But also, if you're American and you're like trans, you may not be allowed access back into your country if you come visit us. So watch out. And I don't know if y'all know this or not, but they issued a travel warning for Canadians going to the States because your ICE has actually detained several Canadians traveling legally.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard about that. They're also detaining American citizens if you dissent. They're looking at our phones, and they're telling us there's a lawyer, a really popular. She's an immigration lawyer, but she was telling Americans the other day. She just posted the video. She was saying that if you're traveling, delete conversations or apps in which you've dissented against the current regime, or to delete essentially like
bring a burner
don't give
phone
them any reason to be like, oh, you're a dissenter. They'll essentially like
travel with a burner flip phone.
A burner phone, yeah, they're saying that too. Yep, travel
or
with
just
a burner
like your
phone.
or just get, because usually if you're traveling by air, you usually need a ticket, and that's on your
phone. For those of you who are not involved in the illegal world / crime, burner phone is when you have a backup phone that's not tied to your legal name, address, or really any of the shit that you can. Think about it as like those phones that you buy off of the store that don't have a SIM card in it, and you get the just like you pull off the rack SIM card. That's a burner phone.
Yep.
You don't have to put your name to it.
So crazy that I would have never thought that people wouldn't know that. But growing up in Philly, that's so normal.
We're queer. We're queer.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are queer know about it just by proxy of other people who use it. Drug culture kind of goes through it a lot. But not everybody necessarily knows what a burner is, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there in case you're from like a less, I don't know, disreputable upbringing.
I realize we have people in which English is not their primary language, and so some of our slang, they'll be like, why would you want a flaming phone? Like that might not translate.
It's also called a burner because you can just ditch it. You can burn it. That's literally what it's for. Yeah, you can just destroy it. That's why it's called a burner. You can physically light it on fire.
Yeah. I do want to give a quick shout out to the chat. We have Rat in the chat. Hey. And we also have Mike Stewart. What's up, Mike? I'm so glad you're here.
What's up, my lovey?
Nice.
Yeah, we were hanging out with Mike yesterday in our kindred. We had Mike was actually ordained as a God's person in our kindred.
Oh,
so
congratulations,
Mike. What were you saying, Sophia?
I want to throw some interesting information I've learned out there recently, just for anybody who might be interested in learning these things. Do you know what an LRAD is?
An LRAD?
Yes.
I feel like this term
long range acoustical device.
Oh yeah.
That's the video I showed you.
That video you showed
I
me
showed him the video of the protest in Serbia and how that is so fucked up.
Just for like studying purposes, not that I would advocate anybody doing this, but did you know that such a loud system requires a high tensile surface to function that's not exactly the best protected, and all it would take is several small punctures at up to 4 critical points, maybe not even that much, to rupture the skin and render it completely inoperable?
I don't even know what the device I didn't look up what it looks like. Is it
They
positioned in an
basically look like
obvious
a
place? Is it
standing.
big?
They basically, yes, they're super obvious because they have to have a big array that points towards something. It's like a big
Okay.
white panel.
Mhm.
If you were to physically hit it with a bottle, like a broken bottle, it would actually probably rupture it completely to the point where it would destroy it. If it's not on, you're probably gonna have to puncture it at 4 separate points, because if it's on, you're relying on the tension of the skin itself to rupture it once the breaking point's incurred. But also with this, they're going to start like putting grates on them to protect them. So you might need a penetrating device if you want to, disable a weapon that should be probably banned by the Geneva Convention as like a war crime to use against your own people. Also, fun fact, you know how like cameras and surveillance is becoming like a real problem these days?
Yeah, Scott, I just saw the picture you sent me. Scott just sent me a picture of it, so now I have a
Yeah.
visual. Oh,
So fun fact, really fun fact, you know laser pointers?
yes, I love laser pointers. They were all the rage when we were kids.
Uh-huh.
Laser pointers.
They're about to be all
over
the rage
boardwalk.
again.
Yeah.
So they're about to be all rage again because cameras have what's known as a CVS sensor, which is a critical light receptor. If you hit it with a concentrated beam of light, such as a laser, it actually fries it and takes down the system so they can't actually see with it. If you're having somebody unlawfully observe
How
you with the drones, you're in your I don't know. Reasonably powerful, but I don't actually suspect it to be too hard, and I can give you an explanation as to why. But it is within your self-defense rights. If somebody's observing you with with a suspicious drone, you're within your rights probably to, I don't know, just fucking laser its lens and make it so they can't even see you. And the best part about that is they can't even fly back to their operator most of the time because they're relying on their cameras to navigate. So high-powered laser or a photon burst can absolutely fuck cameras. And I'm sure you could do it with also those search and rescue lights that get to up to a certain lumen level. You know what I mean?
You can blind them, essentially.
Yes, you destroy the CVS sensors so they can't navigate, and you can use this for any type of security camera that shouldn't be in a place because it's placed illegally. Illegal being the imperative. Now, you should not use this to destroy anything that is lawfully placed, per se. But if somebody is illegally observing you, you're well within your rights to defend yourself. And using a small laser is much less orders of magnitude dangerous than firing bullets into the sky. So if you're getting harassed by a drone, fucking hit that bitch with a laser or a search and rescue light, and it'll fuck it up. You can also use this if somebody is trying to dox you and record you as something and you're not consenting to it. You can shine a laser into their camera sensor and destroy that too.
Nice. And laser...
I don't know how high power it has to be. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, laser tech has gotten awesome over the years, and also it's gotten a lot more affordable. So you can get a pretty decent, like, pocket laser for, like, a pretty powerful pocket laser for not that much money. Probably
especially if you live in America.
Yeah,
you can get them really easy at an army surplus too, where you can pay in cash and you don't have to have it traced to your name. Also, the best part about that is facial recognition software and AI algorithms are actually like literally stealing people's data in a way that's completely illegal and immoral, but we don't actually have any checks and balances against it.
No.
So while we already have people using makeup to fight back, which is 10 out of 10, I love it. You can just laser those cameras too. They can't detect what they can't see if they physically have their CVS sensor destroyed.
Using makeup to fight back, because I think that's just so funny as we're watching Rue transform their face.
You know clown makeup? Yeah, you know clown makeup like juggalos? If you use certain types of facial I can actually explain a brief thing about camouflage and how this works. If you want to go.
Yeah, if you use grease paint or any type of, for example, the face I'm throwing on right now, which is like, basically if you throw any type, if you throw concealer and then a foundation and then a powder and then a setting powder and then another, basically if you put on so many layers of makeup, facial recognition doesn't work on you. And I've actually
to some degree it does though, because the more advanced stuff will scan your facial structure, your bone structure, and apply that across it. The cursory level stuff it can fool, yes.
my
Go
phone,
ahead.
for example, like if I put a full face on, if I've done this before, facial
Yes.
recognition to unlock my phone, like take the picture without no makeup on, put a full face on, it doesn't recognize my face.
Yeah, so a phone algorithm to recognize your face is actually matching it to a specific image that it's taken. When you're getting put into a database, they're also going to like try and scan your face in a bit of a different way and like look at your facial features the way that they do when they're trying to profile people. So there is a bit of a different duck when it gets into the more advanced shit for facial recognition. But
Also, I would
the
say,
Juggalo.
yes, it is recognizing your facial structure, which I just changed my facial structure by contouring. Like my bone structure does not look the same as it does when I
If
don't have makeup on
contouring is
versus.
extreme enough, it can do it. Yes, it's still easier to profile is the point, right? The big thing that's the Juggalo makeup that it does is it completely reshapes your face. Like for example, putting a triangle over your eye, right, in like clown makeup style, and you do like big shapes to it. What's happening with camouflage is there's several different things when the eye processes stuff. You see silhouette and movement first. It's technically movement will catch your eye first because that's what we're trained as a predator species to look for. But we spot silhouette really quickly as well, right? And then after that, we notice color and then detail. It's like an actual order of processing by which your eye sees and your mind constructs an image, right? So when you're using camouflage and when you're doing clown makeup, what it's doing to the camera is it's breaking up the physical silhouette of your face, and it can't actually do the scans of your underlying facial structure as much as it can because the shapes themselves are obscuring what the structure looks like, which is why extreme enough contouring can do this. But you do have to make sure that you're contouring into features that are not naturally to your face because there is enough of a profiling that they can do. Extreme drag makeup does do this effect, though. If someone's wearing like a full face that completely changed them, you will fool the systems. But it has to be to the point where you look like a completely different person.
That's why they hate drag
so, like, for
queens.
example,
Because they fool the cameras.
it's part of a reason why, yeah.
Literally, between face
And they
tape,
can change-
like the major things are face tape and molder's clay, like using face clay to change the shape of your nose, to change the shape of your cheekbones, to change the shape of your eyebrow. Like those are the major things that they're looking
That's
for.
going
And
really
those are
far,
things.
and they can't necessarily, if you use any type of clay, there's basically nothing they can do. Because like I said, it's mostly bone structure they're looking for, right? So if I were to take my face right now and I do my lipstick and eyeliner, I physically look like a different person to the casual observing mind. But if you're looking to a computer that's overlying the bone structure, I've done nothing to change the structure of my face, and it's a 1-to-1 match.
I've been
So yeah, go ahead.
I guess I've been on a bit of like a, I don't know, I guess kicking myself in the ass, right, of how much information we've given to these tech companies, or how much information I've given to tech companies. I use my thumbprint for a good many apps, but then I also kind of justified it in this. I was like, they already have a full set of my fingerprints, because I had to get fingerprinted when I changed my name. So, I mean, I'm already in a government database anyway with my fingerprints.
I went to school to be a teacher. My fingerprints were on file when I was 18 years old.
Yeah. So I think about that. I'm like, and I'm also not committing crimes. Like, I'm not a crime person. I don't commit crimes. So like, that's why, like, you know, when Google was like, oh yeah, I did the thumbprint for this, I was like, oh okay, yeah, sure. And now I'm like, man, I didn't think all of this would happen, right? I knew that like companies were evil, but I didn't think that the government and the companies would become evil together at the same time. Is kind of where I was at.
And that they would criminalize being trans.
Yeah, like of all fucking things, like when I transitioned, like it wasn't about a political angle. It wasn't about anyone else except my goddamn self. Like, it wasn't about anything else. It was just about me and how I felt. I was like, I'm in my 20s. I'm still trying to get my life together, and I still feel like I could fucking jump off a bridge at any minute. Why do I feel this way? You know? And, you know, here I am now.
Yeah.
It's just, I didn't do it for you. did it for me. And no, I really did not think that my existence would be politicized this heavily and also potentially criminalized.
Oh, I had a rant if you'll let me,
Yeah.
because I feel like y'all can relate to this. I want to say, as a trans woman, there is a deep inner pit of rage that I have, not for how I've been mistreated, but for how many fucking people, when I was coming out, gaslit me, told me the world was different, told me I didn't have any reason to be afraid, and told me I was overreacting every fucking step of the way, while I was right on every fucking issue for a decade, while you didn't fucking listen to us, and you put our lives on the line. You gaslit us, and you brought us here. Y'all could have fucking listened to us when we were coming out and we told you that the climate that we were living in, but you fucking didn't, and it's our lives on the line now. So thanks to all you well-meaning allies who were like, the world's different now. No, it fucking ain't, and I fucking told you so.
There was...
And that doesn't go to anybody in the community, because y'all already knew.
Oh, yeah. There's this show, an animated cartoon called Central Park that I found on Apple TV. There's account. Haha. Yo ho ho.
Ha.
So we started watching it. The animation style is similar to Bob's Burgers.
It's amazing. It's Hamilton in New York and animated. It is just, it's so good.
And it shows a mixed family, which I thought it's all about this mixed family. The dad, he's a black guy, and he is the park manager of Central Park. And his wife is a white lady, and she's played by I can't think of her goddamn name, Miss Agatha Harkness. The same
Miss Agatha Harkness herself.
Catherine Hahn. Catherine Hahn. Yes, so Catherine Hahn is the mom, and then they have a son and a daughter, so they have these two, mixed kids, and it's this mixed blended family, and it's a fantastic show. But there was this plot point. So Cole is the son. I think he's all of 7 years old, 8 years old, the character. And he's all into the Squirrel Quarrels books, which are all about these swashbuckling squirrels, right? And so he's in the park, and he's playing with his obviously wooden toy sword, and, and he's in the park, and he jumps out of the bushes and scares this white lady that's walking by. She goes, and basically she's incredibly racist to this kid. You shouldn't be waving a weapon around, and thankfully his dad and another park ranger, come up to say, hey, what's going on? He's like, that's my son. He's just playing, and he's like, and he says things like, oh, what, you're upset by the very obvious toy sword that he has in his hand? Like, he's not a threat to you. And it was just that it was that very, it's obviously racism, but if we call it racism, then I wasn't being, you're just accusing me of, so it was like that. So there's this moment that happens to this kid. The kid doesn't realize that how the lady was treating him was racist. The dad is talking to his partner, who's another park ranger, who's also a black guy, and they have this moment where his friend's like, damn, that really sucked. Like, you're gonna have to have the talk with him. And his dad was like, yep, I'm gonna have to have the talk with him. And the way that they presented this, so then you see like the parents talking, and the mom's a white lady, so it was such good writing, and like showing how this actual thing exists, because he goes, listen, a lady was really racist to Cole in the park today, and her immediate reaction, she goes, oh my god, I can't believe it. And then she immediately goes, I can believe it. Like, that, you know what I mean? Like, I can believe it, but he's so young. Like, he's an 8-year-old boy. And and then she's like, however we have to have this talk with him, I'll follow your lead on it. It was just a really great and horrible all at the same time. You know what I mean? It was a really great, but like in a cartoon, and I just it just sucks that like families have to have talks with their children about how to behave properly so you don't get misconstrued as a threat. It's just fucked up. It's absolutely fucked up. And it's a really great example of that. So I don't know, check out the show. In addition to that, it's just a really good show. But yeah, it bothers me. I guess. I think a
Yeah, the
lot
show,
of
it really, there's so many great topics in the show. It's just a great show, and it's a musical. It's got Daveed Diggs, it's got Catherine Hahn, and it's got just, mwah!
yeah.
It sounds really good. I would like to watch it.
Yeah. I think I probably had a point at the at the beginning of that kind of tangent about the show, but it was mostly about like showing that conversation, and like I guess it's the idea of like queer people are now going to be seen as threats, like how do you and we don't come from queer families. So now it's like now our queer families have always been disjointed, you know what I mean? Like it's always been this weird nebulous sort of community, and it's like how do we there's so many young queer people out there that are really really like we're scared, we're nervous, we're this that and a third, but like we're a little older, we're a little more ready for shit, I guess. Oh.
I would have been blindsided by all of this, to be honest. Like, I wasn't really very aware when I was young. I don't know how
Yeah.
much has changed. I would have been blindsided. I would have, I would have thought that I think when you're young, at least for me, I think I always had like a thought that I would be just in generally very safe.
Yes, that because like when we were growing up, it was okay to be gay, and we lived in Philadelphia. So like, we grew up in Philadelphia. It was
Mhm.
okay to be gay. We had GSA groups in school. We both went to public
Right.
schools, so we had that experience. And it was
And a lot of
relatively
our
like fine.
yeah. And a lot of our hateful people here in Philly were very they shut up. You know what I mean? They
Mhm.
knew that they weren't liked. They knew that no one agreed with them here, and they stopped talking.
Yeah.
And it was nice. I mean, it was nice for them to stop running their fucking mouths. But things are definitely different even here. But I mean, I think about the kids, I think about the queer youth. I think about there was a point I wanted to make and I cannot remember exactly what it was. But well, actually, I guess really it was I guess that I just never really thought that for whatever reason, and I can't even really I can't tell you why, but for some reason I've really like growing up when we did, I really just was like we're finally gonna, it's finally gonna get somewhere,
Better.
I thought we
Yeah.
were going up in the world,
Yeah.
and it just but really it's the one thing that I unfortunately remind myself lately is that it's never about bathrooms, it's never about who you marry, it was never about water fountains, it is about power and control. It is about believing that these fascist Nazi pieces of shit who believe themselves superior to everyone who is not quote unquote normal, and it is just about you are not what I think you should be, and therefore I think you shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
It is not like all this morality stuff, all this stuff about the Bible says, and all that. It's a smokescreen because it's an easy way to argue. It's an easy way to shut down a point, right? You like it's essentially just this grand logical fallacy that they use to shut you down, to shut
Yeah,
us
because
down,
it's like the Bible
to
says
shut
this.
marginalized
Not
people down. It
everyone's
really
not everyone's Christian, so the Bible doesn't apply to everyone.
right,
Yeah.
but it is unfortunately remains the most influential
Mm-hmm.
religion. And they've infested our politics, they've infested our healthcare system, they've infected everything that they could touch, you know, with their prosperity gospels and all of these horrible, ridiculous things. And of course, you know, they've even and they were clever. You know, I have to hand it to these wicked, evil, disgusting, vile subhumans.
Creatures. Mm-hmm.
They've
They did it.
they were clever because they added in things, like they took incel culture and red pill culture, and they were like, oh, these are easy ways to
Infiltrate.
to attack. You know what I mean? These are groups of people that are already violent and dangerous and bloodthirsty. Well, you know, they were clever. They were clever. I actually had to call out some classmates today on Facebook, old high school classmates. It's so funny because these two guys, they had the most homoerotic bromance I had ever seen in my life, all throughout high school. And they were like, we're brothers, you know.
Yeah.
And they were attached at the hip. They would, you know, like they were always like they were never without each other. They were always up each other's ass. And in like recent years, they suddenly become like very red pill MAGA bros.
You know what I never understood in high school?
Hmm.
Ball tapping. Never fucking understood that. Like where dudes would just go around and slap each other.
It's usually guys who want to touch other guys.
Yeah,
I
I'm
swear
like,
that's what it is.
you mean to tell me y'all ain't gay? Okay, whatever.
And that's I actually because one of those guys posted this ridiculous meme, and in the meme it's a person with rainbow hair shouting in a crowd of black and white quote unquote normal people, and the thing basically says like, I don't remember exactly the words, but essentially what the meme was getting at was like, if you're the only one yelling about it and everyone else is like doing this other thing, why do we have to fit to you? Why can't you fit to us? Kind of thing, like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And and of course people were arguing why that's not the take to have, of course, and the point is that he posted that trying to say like, why do cis straight people have to, you know, listen to queer people? You know, like why? That's really what it was about. And I, of course, got pissed, and I went in and I was like, you know, about the whole homoerotic bromance, and I was like, so for, but and it was like, I can't imagine how you go from that to, you know, red pill MAGA bro. And then I was like, good job. I said, real commitment to the bit. You fooled us for over 2 decades, you know, alluding to the fact that they're actually but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's you know, they just hate us. You know, it's really what it is.
They hate us, and you know what it is? I don't hate them. I
do,
like,
but
I don't like. I hate them because they're stupid. I hate that they've been failed by our system. They have been failed by their families. Like, I do hate them. Like, I hate them because of their behaviors. But like, if you
No, I
really
know what you
start to
mean.
unpack, your empathy comes back. It always comes
Yeah.
back. You know,
I get it.
I've been there with the
Real
rage, and then
talk?
the empathy comes back.
I like to actually. This sounds crazy, right? I try to practice love for them,
Right.
not because I think that I'm going to change them, because it's utterly poison to them. When somebody who they've convinced themselves is the enemy shows more compassion and care for their plight than their family, their friends, and all the people who pulled them into that. It truly fucks them up more.
It does.
I hate how hard the emotion, like, I hear you, and I know, and logically I know what you guys are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I can feel it, it's very similar to when I'm in therapy and we touch on a topic and
Mhm.
I'm rejecting it emotionally, like as a reaction, not like not rejecting it actively. It's reactionary. It's you guys aren't wrong, and I know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
But
Yes. It's just hard to hear.
I really fucking hate them. You know, like
Mhm.
I don't mean to laugh at it because
Look,
it's
hey,
bad, but not bad, but it's
It comes down to this, right? It's not that I don't see, like, they want to kill us. Like, that's the thing. They want to kill us.
that's
They
what
want
it
us
is.
Mhm.
dead. I just want to beat their fucking ass from one end of the block to the other, and then until they're like, "Oh, we're not that different." And I'm like, "No, dude, we're not that fucking different." And then just come to peace.
Let
I
me
just
be
want to
clear.
kick your ass and we can get on with ourselves.
I don't think some of them we can come to peace with. I truly think some of them need to be killed. But let me be very,
Mm.
very square with all of you about it. I don't fight my enemies out of hatred. I do it out of love. Love for the fact that I know that there's more than just this one life, and that person's going to be freed from the parasites that are consuming them whole of hatred. They're probably going to have to undergo a lengthy soul review process of all the shit they've done and all the harm they've caused. But I would rather allow them that chance of healing and reincarnation than to continue to spread their sickness, right? And I don't do that because I hate them. I don't do that because in my heart I have a negative reaction towards them. If I can talk them down and make them join my side, I will. But if they can't, they should be killed. Not because they disagree with me, but because they literally are willing to burn the planet just for the sake of cruelty. We're not dealing with humans anymore once you're past that point. We're dealing with monsters.
I
It's
do
it
understand
is
what
what
you
it
mean.
is.
I do
And I do
understand.
it out of love and compassion because y'all, soldiering is probably one of the most difficult things that you could do, right? A
Mm.
lot of people really look down on people who would do military service. Like when I posted about probably signing up to the military, I gave like a set number on it. I'm not going to do it that because I don't want to lock myself into a date if I'm doing it at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows even if they're going to take me. But like seeing people have like negative reactions and be like, oh, I think you're going to end up a foot soldier to fascism. And it's like, y'all don't even fucking understand how the military works. And if you have a right winger who gives a immoral order and you only have fucking MAGA idiots in there, they're going to follow that immoral order and they're going to shoot kids. Okay? You don't fucking understand how it works. Whereas actually, if you have somebody who has a moral compass in there, you can turn down immoral orders under the premise of them being a fucking violation of the Geneva Convention, and you'll be protected by JAG lawyers for doing it. But if you put some MAGA sycophant in there, yeah, guess what? You're getting a lot more children shot. And we do this like purity politics of keeping our hands out of it, right? But there's probably nothing harder than having to take another human being's life to protect the future of humanity and then have to live with that for the rest of your life and have people treat you like you're a monster for doing something that is necessary but none of them are willing to do. It's like how we look down on the butchers but we're all so willing to eat meat.
You do raise a lot of good points, and I do. I absolutely see where you're coming from. And I think it really depends on what are the actions that these people are doing. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about
Mm-hmm.
Karen who just really doesn't know any better. I'm not saying Karen who doesn't know any better deserves to be executed. You know?
I'm talking about like like the ones who I know are
Bad actors.
too far gone are like that blood that severe like the blatant neo-Nazi group who carries the black flags with the red
Yeah.
swastika. Like they're too violent to be trusted. Like I like
Mm-hmm.
even if only one is left alive, kind of thing. Like, and I mean, I'm probably not the one. I don't really know. I could defend myself, and I would do what I have to do in that situation, but I wouldn't be upset at somebody who had the cojones to do whatever they felt they needed to do. But I don't trust them. It's people like them that I know for certain. I've watched some of them change. Some of them are realizing what they've done was wrong.
What, like those radical super
No, not
militant?
them. I'm talking
Oh,
like
okay.
other.
Like the
I'm talking
Karens.
like Karen.
Right.
The
Or
way
like older people who didn't understand shit because they never met a trans person until we came out and fucking talked about our experiences, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
right
Some of
and
those
like
people can still be kind of educated.
and even some of the Gen Z kids who voted,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
a lot of them were like, they're realizing that they didn't know enough, and they did what they thought was like essentially cool. They thought it was, you know,
Cool, radical change. Shake it
right.
up.
They thought that, like, you know, they were like a lot of like the straight boys particularly were like, you know, I just thought that, you know, I wasn't allowed to be myself, and you know,
Yeah,
Well,
and
you're
now
not.
it's like, man, no one fucked you before, and now really no one's gonna fuck you after this. So you might want to change your tune if you ever hope to get laid.
I got into an argument with an incel about this. What it really boils down to, though, is a lot of them feel really put out on a societal level,
They do.
and they are, which is
They
the
are.
crux of the fucking issue, right? And
Yep.
they just see everybody else talk about how men have it pretty good because, by comparison, men have it pretty good. But men are still getting a raw fucking shit deal as well.
Yes.
And they're never willing to have the conversation when we're like, hey, a rising tide lifts all boats. Liberating men requires liberating everybody else. Otherwise, you're just putting them on top of something, right? But these MRA guys are often using like bad talking points and stuff that has never happened to them, and they cherry pick their data. And once you realize that, like, because sometimes they're engaging with you because they've picked up bad data points, and you can tell those people. But then you can tell the bad actors when you give counterpoints and counter data, and they're not willing to listen to it. They just double down and play more like straw man games and try and accuse you of things that you haven't said. The moment you can recognize they're not engaging in good faith, you don't need to continue talking to them anymore because those are legitimate fucking bad actors. But the crux of it is they are getting put out. They can identify that men are getting fucked over, just like women, just like trans people, but they only see it for their own perspective, right?
Yep.
So all these MRA people have some pretty legitimate grievances of how men get treated, but they think that suddenly that they're like number one in the fucking oppression Olympics, which is where everything fucking falls apart. Because if they came together in solidarity, we could fucking turn the tide damn near overnight.
Yes. Instead of competing in the oppression Olympics, we should all just join forces.
To tear down oppression as a whole, right?
Yes. Honestly, that's perfectly said, because we do that a lot in our communities, in marginalized communities.
Well,
You see it a lot. Like, some people just kind of trauma dump, and it becomes, and then someone responds in kind and says, yeah, I went through a similar experience, I understand, and maybe they'll share some details, and then that person doubles down and is like, no, but my situation was terrible and horrible, and you couldn't possibly understand how oppressed I am. And it's like,
I think it's more
I
an
can.
individual trauma response.
Yeah.
So like, I have a theory on this. I think if you're queer, in the modern society, you by default have one of two mental health characteristics. And if you don't have these, congratulations, everybody clap for the queer who's loved by their friends and their family, who never got bullied at school and never got fucking disowned. We all
truly.
wish that we could have your experience. We're not being sarcastic. You're the model of what we want. Don't feel bad for what you got. You grew up in the world that all of us should have had. But because we didn't get that, basically everybody else, take your pick. Flip a fucking coin. You got CPTSD or you got BPD. Take your pick, okay? And that is a result of people with severe trauma with BPD splitting, right? It's an individual issue, but often people who are marginalized and have more intersections of trauma and adverse childhood experiences will get more severe symptoms of BPD because they also have less access to resources. And BPD can be a degenerative mental health condition if it's not treated correctly. You can pick up other mental health issues and it can get fucking way exacerbated and out of control. So you take people with some of the worst trauma and some of the worst childhood experiences, and then you give them a mental health condition that doesn't help them cope very well. And it's going to look like that. It looks exactly like that every time because they don't have the therapy and they don't have the help that they need. And not everybody's even going to be super put together with help and therapy because, like, it's some nasty shit to go through that causes that stuff, right? I'm exceptionally lucky in the fact that I just have CPTSD and I'm really fucking well adjusted to it. I guess because of like my previous practice with soldiering and a whole bunch of shit like that, right? But it relates to other issues I have with how I compartmentalize and how I handle trauma, and we're all a very specific basket of neuroses from what we've been through. If
Mhm.
you're trans and queer and you're out, you're almost guaranteed to have BPD or CPTSD. You can't have both. You can't get diagnosed with both. That's not how it works. They're both trauma-related illnesses that happen to the brain, and you don't get both, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I think a lot of those people who are doing that, it's 100% CPTSD, not CPTSD, it's BPD splitting and thinking that other people can't have it worse than them, because people in that position tend to want to have a monopoly on pain, and I have seen that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like yeah, exactly. It's not helping anyone to kind of I don't know, I guess compare. Like no one should have these illnesses. No one should have these mental illnesses. It's terrible because they're trauma induced, So I feel
Yes.
so it's like horrible that you had to go through the trauma in the first place to even have the condition. But yeah, it is
Yeah, and for them
very
to not do it, it's like working on Tourette's, they have to do like dialectical behavior therapy. Like it has so many things that they go through. So if you meet somebody who has BPD who really has their shit put together, give them a hug, because that person has done a lot of work on themselves to be a healthy member of their community. And if somebody's going through that shit, give them some empathy, because they've gone through some really hard shit and they're having trouble processing it. I don't think at the end of the day, anybody who's healed would really say that other people's trauma should be negated by their own. That is exceptionally coming from a place of pain.
I also think for us to like with all of our combined mental illnesses and whatnot, I think we're all
Yeah.
pretty. I think we're all pretty well adjusted. I mean, the fact that we can gather here fairly regularly once a week, talk about this stuff. Like we're all managing. We're all managing our
Mm-hmm.
individual things, and I think some of that, like, in addition to some of us have done therapy, some of us have, are on medication. Um, I have not really. I did like 6 months of like talk therapy, and it was like okay. I can't really say if it did much. I'm pretty self-aware of my issues, so I was like talk therapy was kind of
Mm-hmm.
like not helpful. And then I tried some like anxiety medication. I didn't really like it. Made me feel like a zombie. So yeah, I didn't really like that. So for me, I think the tool that I turn to the most is that I'm a spiritual person, and I just have to keep
Mm-hmm.
turning to that, my meditation and just like calm, being center, being present in everything that is happening in this moment. Like the only thing I can control is everything that I'm doing in this very moment right now. Um and that's kind of how I keep myself. So, and I think it might also be a tool that all of us use because we're all here. Like we all are spiritual people to
Mm-hmm.
some degree. So, and my heart does go out to people who are not spiritual, or maybe have a
Yeah.
block about that, you know? Even if you're an atheist, like just sitting with yourself, breathing and looking at a pretty tree will make you feel better. Like you don't have to believe that the tree is talking to you. You don't have to believe that the tree has a spirit. Just sit there and you'll feel better,
Yeah. You don't
Yeah.
have to believe it's hugging you back for that hug to feel exceptionally good.
Yeah. You can just be like, "Hey, I
Um,
like the color of the leaves." Wonderful.
Also, I find something that has been a upticking trend. It's been a trend for a while, but I'm noticing a lot of young people who have mental health stuff are dosing down on their anti-anxiety and their antidepressants, and they're taking mushrooms in specific targeted amounts to work
I
on
have
their
heard
shit,
about
and
that,
it's
yeah.
been working really good for them. Like we've known through clinical studies that mushrooms work exceptionally well for CPTSD and trauma stuff, but it turns out that not everybody who's on really severe antidepressants need it for the chemical disorder. A lot of them are on it because they're in really bad instances. And a close personal friend of mine, who's more like an adopted sister, she tapered down her dose because she got out of a really abusive situation, and she didn't even realize it was abusive while she was in it. And she needed the medication to handle everything she's going through, and like recalibrating that has been like life changing for her.
Mhm.
So like I think like we're kind of on the verge of a new hallucinogenic revival. Not to say it ever went away, right? But like when the younger generations are really realizing, hey, this stuff can help us deal with a lot of stuff in ways that our other medications can't. I think we have actually a really positive tool for them going forward. And honestly, real talk, acid and mushroom trips and sitting with shit and talking to my friends has done more for me than any therapist visit ever has in all of my life.
Yeah.
It's not that way for everybody. It is not that way for everybody, but it is for me.
Yeah, I think I would be interested in trying like controlled doses of like mushrooms. That I think if I
You're
was
not
to
on
try...
SSRIs or SNRIs, are you?
No, I don't take anything.
Beauty, you're A-okay, bud.
Yeah.
If you need dose recommendations for levels and stuff, hit me up.
Yeah, I just take my diabetes medication.
Diabetes. Scott, are you muted?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm listening.
I did
Curious
want to
as
say
to
this.
Curious as to your thoughts on this. Sorry, go ahead.
I know we had like 3 different thoughts going on at once. I did want to say that next week we will not be able to gather for recording. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up about that
Oh,
now.
that's excellent.
Because in a little bit of fun news, Rue, Scott, Darian, and I will be at Sacred Space Conference. It's the first time we've ever yeah, so it's the first time we've ever gone to like a pagan conference. I've been to like furry conventions, and like game
And anime
conventions.
conventions.
But I've never been to, and I've been to a spiritual retreat, but I've never been to like a spiritual conference. So, we're really excited. There's just so many speakers lined up. We're really excited about that. So if you, I don't know if anyone listening is going to be at Sacred Space, but if you are, we'll be there. So we could, meet up or something.
Shit, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring business cards. Remember
On
business
the map.
cards. Remember the fucking business cards. Everyone projected
You're gonna
into
remember
my
it.
fucking
You're gonna remember
brain.
it.
Everyone projected.
Jay, can I give you a little visualization that I used to use as a kid that really helps?
Yeah. Visualize
Close
the
your
business
eyes and
cards?
imagine your No, just hear me out. This is actually a really powerful technique that I use when I need to remember shit. Close your eyes and imagine your head, right, is like
Okay.
an empty space. It looks exactly like your head, but it's a vault, okay? And there's a little dial, and I want you to pull it open and open that space where that vault door swings, okay? I want you to take that information, whatever it looks like. Maybe it's just like the letters themselves. Maybe it's the business cards. Put it into your mind and physically seal that safe and lock it. Lock it in.
Just lock it right in there. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep. It really fucking helps when I need to actually remember something.
I know
What should I call it? I'm so excited about the conference, but it was funny because I realized that like I have to work out when I'm there because it'll be on my third workout day. So I was like, shit, I gotta plan that too. I'm like, damn it.
It seems that most things end by like
10.
Yeah, like 10.
And like, so everything kind of wraps up at 10, which is perfect. What you call it? I looked at the gym. It's actually really nice. They actually have a really nice gym.
Is it 24
so
hours?
I was like, cool. Huh?
Is it 24-hour fit? It usually is 24-hour fitness.
They usually are, yeah. I would imagine so.
Scott's gonna teach me how to lift. We're gonna do douchey bro workout videos, and I'm gonna upload them to YouTube.
No.
Yes, we're doing it. We're doing it.
We're gonna go.
We're gonna do really gay workout videos.
I might have you doing dumbbell work though if you want to work out with me on Saturday.
No, I do. I do want to utilize having a fitness center that we can both access for freezies. Well, whatever, for inclusion. Because it's hard to like get to your gym versus my gym and have equipment and stuff. So
yeah, they're really
yeah. I just want to learn how to do it right, and then after that, I'll just Scott. Basically, I'm using you as my personal trainer. Is what I'm saying.
That's fine. Oh God, no, I'm
Yeah,
cool.
no
I
pressure.
I know how to do things. I do. I'm actually decent.
Yeah.
But to get back to Sophia, you were asking me how I feel about all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. There's a lot of research that suggests. So I want to say this. What is it called? Minority stress. I've talked about this a couple of times here. Minority stress is something that we're really only recently touching down on in what I mean, colloquially, socially, but also even academically. Recognizing that things like spheres of marginalization, even economic status, etc., which is also a sphere of marginalization, but they cause an like a notch on sort of this how would you put this the like a trauma notch, right? Like you're born, like if you're queer, you sort of are considered to have like a notch already ticked off on your trauma experience, right? Like the society you live in most likely is not like this, bastion of acceptance and support, right? Um and again, this could be used for any marginalized people. Um I think that queer people have a really hard time with intimacy. I think that I've never met a queer person who had a stable attachment style ever. I have only
Calling
ever
me
met.
out, Scott.
I'm calling. I think. I mean,
Probably
I'm
all of
actually
us
honestly
out.
calling all of us out because,
Yeah.
like, I know
I
about Rue.
know.
Rue has mentioned their attachment style in a roundabout way. Anxious attachment, just like me. Um, and like Darian, I've never met a queer person who, yeah, I've never met someone with a queer person with a healthy attachment style. We're all either anxiously attached, ambivalently attached, and even disorganized. But I've never seen a well attached queer person ever.
Ooh.
Um,
And if you
only if they're
really
wealthy.
have attachment issues, you can catch the opposite. You can start off with not having, like, being too needy and then realizing that's never going to get met and then becoming way unattached because of it.
Jeez. Right.
Reading
But
us all. My God.
Yeah, that
but
one's razor sharp. Sorry.
Ouch.
Jesus.
I'm
That's why I was
bleeding.
like, jeez. But I think that there's a reason why so many of us are lonely. I think that there's a reason why so many of us are angry. And I think that it's justified. I think that it's okay to be mad. I think that it's okay to be distrustful. And I'm not just saying this because it's me and I am those things, but I am sitting with those things a lot, and I'm trying. I've talked to my therapist about it, and she reminded me to not let it make me hateful. She reminded me that there's a way to be mad and not be hateful, and I get that, and that I think is what I've been bringing up to Jay a couple times, and what I've brought up on the podcast I think once, is sort of how do I be mad and not be hateful? Because right now I say a lot of really nasty shit behind closed doors, and even sometimes on social media when I'm pissed enough. I say really mean things about cis straight people. I do. I do. I'm not gonna.
If
I'm
I
not even.
may,
Huh?
what I recommend is looking into where it's coming from, right? Because real talk, anger is a gift if it's applied correctly. I feel like the only thing that you can really do in those instances is look, why am I feeling this way? And is it okay to act the way that I'm acting? And if both those answers are yes, girl, keep doing it because it's valid, right?
I don't
I
think
think that's ultimately it.
I don't think it always is. If you guys don't mind, I want to give an example.
Mhm.
Last night
Mhm.
I saw what I perceived to be straight people, cis straight people specifically, having a conversation about kink and fetish.
Mhm.
And when I tell you, I've always been very lucky that in all of the queer spaces I've ever been in, the topic of kink and fetish has always been talked about very, I don't know, maturely. Actually, I mean, we have fun, but it's always a very mature experience, and we know what we're talking about, and
Yeah.
we try to
We know
make sure
what's
we're
safe.
educated in one way or another.
Yeah.
That was just a bunch of what I perceive, and I'm saying this on purpose, what I perceive to be cisgendered heterosexuals having a big argument about kink and fetish. And I wrote and deleted this text multiple times, and I didn't send it because I was able to use my therapy tools to sort of begin to calm down and rationalize. But I was like,
What were they
my
arguing
text essentially was like,
about?
this is what you get when you let cis hets have conversations about fetish and kink. I was like, y'all just argue. This is all, and I essentially was just like, and then at one point I was like, this is why y'all are bad at physical intimacy. Like I kept going for these like really like lowbrow sort of things that we kind of go to, like the equivalent of like calling them breeder.
Yeah,
And
that's my go-to when I'm feeling incredibly mean.
and I like attacking them like where I know it hurts them, which is wrong. It's wrong. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not sitting here being like, "Hey, look at me."
Yeah.
The problem is that like every time I would send it, and that's how I knew it was wrong, because something was stopping me. The ego was stepping in and saying, "What is
No.
wrong here?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're getting upset, and you write these miserable, horrible, mean messages, but what's stopping you? If this was the right thing to do, you'd hit the send button, right? You would do it. But you know that it's not right. There's something in you stopping me from doing it. And for especially coming from somebody
100%.
with DID, I have a lot of extra voices going on in here. So like for even them to sort of step aside and let the ego do its work. I mean, I've like one good thing about my therapy is my therapist has always said I have really good solid ego strength. So I'm really good at being really brutally honest with myself. And especially since I started therapy, I really can take I don't like when people are just blatantly mean, but I don't mind when people are honest with me in a very nice way. You know what I mean? Like say it like it is, don't sugarcoat it, but
Yeah.
like, hey Scott, you're kind of fucking up. Here's how it's going. I'm not trying I'm not trying to judge you, but
But get it together.
yeah, like let's
Yeah.
talk about it,
Yeah.
let's work on fixing it, I
That's
respond
that
really
like
well to that.
witchcraft resilience, like I feel like that comes from being a cultist.
I've actually said that a lot too. I actually said it to my therapist a couple times. I said, in occultism and in sorcery, we don't have anyone else to blame.
Yeah.
We only blame ourselves for our behavior. It's
Yeah.
about us. There's not like some adversary whispering in our ear like, do the bad thing, like that's not our thing. We don't in occultism you're expected to not scapegoat your bullshit,
Yes.
know thyself, right? Know thyself. And that yeah, I 100% agree, Sophia, absolutely. Occultism just doesn't let me lie to myself like I think I used to when I was younger.
Yeah.
I think it would it also would be it would be for me it would be sort of a mark of shame if it was too easy to do that.
Right.
Um you know
Yep.
and I take you guys know I'm maybe sometimes I take it too seriously, but I do take seriously the oaths that I've made to my spirits and
No, there is no
I don't think
taking
you take it too seriously for a second.
okay, thank you.
I like, oh, you have the exact same answer. I'm like, you took oaths. You better take it fucking seriously.
So, you know, I just so I mean I don't want to pretend like I'm in the worst situation, but I do want it acknowledged that I have a lot to work on. Um I have and Sophia was talking about like where it comes from. It comes from the place where I'm not really talking about like it's funny because me and Darian talk about this a lot. We were talking about it a little earlier too about like there's like ignorant Trump supporters who just they're like one issue voters who don't know anything.
Yeah, like
And
immigration.
then, who like, they're totally wishy-washy anyway.
Mhm.
And then who were like in sort of inconsequential. I mean, they're not inconsequential, but they're not the same thing as like the violent ones that I'm specifically talking about.
Right.
The problem is that I don't trust them in general. Now the distrust I don't shame myself for.
That's just
I didn't
survival.
put the distrust there, you did. Not not you, they,
Yeah.
Um but I don't want to be a hateful person. I could
No.
be mad, I could be distrustful, but I don't want to be hateful.
Mhm.
I think hating them gives them way too much power. And that's I think in a lot of ways it's why like I'm so like I'm like that's why I'm like still like planning my Pride outfit, like I'm really excited
Mm-hmm.
for Pride and Outfest this year, like, and I think that that's why I think in a weird roundabout way, I think it will help me to see to feel that energy, to be sort of that sort of empathically what is that called? Sort of like swimming in the feelings of our queer family, and then that high pitched sort of swaddled energy. It will also
Mm-hmm.
help give me perspective
Mhm.
to see the smiles of other queer people and other queer people living their lives, and queer joy and queer sexuality and queer sex and all these things that I think are beautiful and divine. And I think it will help give me perspective on straight people, especially because one thing that I have to also that does help is remembering that there are queer people that are in relationships with cis het people who are not abusive, who are
Yeah.
not
Mm-hmm.
fetishizers, and although those things are a problem, I'm not erasing that as a problem, but it's not as if they don't exist, and I
Right.
can't deny them the work that they've done to be to be respectfully and happily in a relationship with a queer person. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay,
I
I
also have
was
something I kind of
sometimes
want to
like
chime in on it.
yeah.
Go ahead and finish, though.
No, I want to give them space to exist and do the right thing. Um, so yeah, I'm working on being less hateful. That's kind of where I'm striving, and it's interesting because I've noticed that the more I've fallen into that hateful sphere, the less spiritual I've gotten. The more
Mm-hmm.
rage filled, the less I can connect. And I
Yeah.
think that I really need to make sure that I'm lighting my altars. I mean, it hasn't been that long. It's only been about like I would say 3 weeks, but
You can feel a shift.
um, I did notice that there was a big turn when I stopped, and I think that I really needed. That's where that I find peace and I can release anger is when I'm with my spirits and I'm processing, not just in therapy but also within my own spirituality. But you guys, yes.
I think sacred space is
So
gonna be
here's
helpful for you, Scott.
Me too.
yeah. So here's a really interesting take you wouldn't expect from me. Okay, but I'm going to take you through a journey I've been going through recently. I think as queer people, we don't talk to straight people enough. We've really insulated ourselves in the past 5 years, and I'm going to tell you what's changed my perspective on this. Most of y'all don't see me day to day. I bleached my hair again recently, and I've been really, really enjoying actually stepping into the Barbie aesthetic.
Mhm.
Last time there was like some details with my hair that made me feel a little bit dysphoric and like it wasn't working. But this time it's like nailing it, right? And I'm like dressing a lot more like a stereotypical blonde femme girl, right? What this has done is it's pulled me into more situations where straight people talk to me.
Oh, so
They can't always
less
flag
of
that I'm
your
trans.
like less of your punk sort of goth
I'm not
aesthetic.
visibly queer anymore.
Got
I'm
it.
very clear.
Okay.
Like if you like, let
Like
me
how
be
I
clear.
am on
If
day-to-day
you're a
basis.
lesbian,
Yeah.
if you're no. If you're a lesbian, you'll spot me within 5 fucking seconds because I'm very clearly a Barbie doll queer, right?
Right, yeah.
I'm not a lesbian. I actually am also really attracted to men, and this is something that I've struggled with because as a trans woman, I'm pansexual, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually ever get to be in relationship with men because of the bullshit, because of the trauma. And it's become a really big emotional and sexual block for me. And shadow integration has really been a big key thing that's been pushing my spiritual progress forward light years, right? And it's stupid shit you wouldn't even think, right? And it's just literally like bleaching my hair because I actually wanted to, and I've been holding myself off and telling myself I couldn't for a long time, and going on dates with guys because it's a big aspect of my sexuality and I've been denying it, right? I am still a fucking sappho, right? I am very, very, very romantically attached to women in a way that I'm not with men. But with men, I'm very sexually into them in a way that I struggle to express with women who aren't also trans women, because there's like a weird disconnect between trans women and cis women sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to heal, I've been trying to work on my attraction with guys more, trying to get up to actually get the nerve to actually go on a date with them, because anytime they actually book a date with me, they either are shitty to the point where they preclude themselves before it, or my anxiety overloads me coming up to it to the point where I ghost because I get so up in my head about what I think it might be like, right?
Right.
But the more that I've broken these processes, the more I realize that the cis people that we deal with that traumatize us, they're not everybody, okay?
Yes.
And there's a lot of other really cool people who never get the experience to have cool queer people in their lives that open up just doors they never could have before, right? Like, here's a hot fucking example. I'm talking to a childhood friend right now who last night just basically I realized is probably also a trans woman, because they were just like, oh, I wish I could get my nails done. And I'm like, you can though. And then
Yeah, you
like I just
can.
would like gave the whole fucking gender speech, right? And you never know where somebody's actually at. We are more often than not dealing with our own internal externalizations of who we expect someone to be based off of their archetypes, more than we ever actually engage with them as an individual person. Because when those transphobes or those people who think they're Trump supporters meet me, they realize that trans people aren't this weird boogeymen, and we're not always getting confrontational in your face unless you say some shit. And I know how to be confrontational in the point where I've only gotten respect for people when I get confrontational in film, sort of deal, right? So like,
Right.
it's how you do it and it's how you go about it. We've created a divide that's not healthy, and we interact with the myth of cis people and heterosexual people just as much as they interact with the myth of queer people. And we need to fucking tear that boundary down for solidarity, because it is not helping anybody.
Yeah.
Mm.
This is
And we
I
need to
love
do our own shadow work.
I love that you're talking about that, because that's another thing I think that's been helping me a lot. I realized it's actually funny when I was talking. If you remember, I was talking about how those Gen Z young men who were like switching and realizing they made a mistake. They're touching on that. They just don't have the vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what they were saying was like, I don't know how to talk to queer people. And it was funny because what Sophia was saying about how like in the last 5 or so years, if you listen to a lot of queer people, even then, even from millennial generation, we're like, we don't even know how to like. We were making jokes about how there's tons of videos of millennial gay content creators who are like making jokes about gay male lingo and straight male lingo, like we can't communicate, as
Yeah.
if there's like a language barrier. But
Yeah.
those jokes come from somewhere, right? I know they're funny,
Mm-hmm.
but they come out of something real, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a critique or an observation of our existence and how we move. But there is something to this idea that maybe maybe we've confined ourselves too closely to we pulled rank too much. But it's weird because then, like, even as I say that, I also have other sort of not count. For instance, I also have a belief that right now, I think it would be better if we were a bit more selective about who we let into gay bars and queer spaces like that
It
because of
appears
what's
that
going
we
on.
It appears that we are, I guess. Sort
I
of
don't
like,
disagree either.
Yeah, sort of intrinsically, because I think you guys might have seen the video of this lady walked into a pretty, like, I think it was a gay bar, like a queer bar.
I
with
know
a
the
MAGA hat
exact one,
on.
and they pull out the baseball bat and they're like, "Get out!"
Yeah, get
Yep.
the fuck out.
Fuck yeah.
And that's the queer solidarity we need. No one got hurt, but she got the fucking message, and that is the goddamn point. Get the fucking message. Read the room.
You are not welcome here.
Yeah.
Also,
I support
I'm
that
done 3 hours
bartender 1,000%.
Hell yeah.
Show the camera. Everybody, wait, stop. Let's give Rue a little
Yes.
moment of attention to see this. Show the camera.
Yes, this
Come on in.
Yep, we see the camera here.
Oh yeah, can you close the eyelids and look down a little bit so we can see the eyeshadow more? Yes. Yes. Oh yeah, and turn the sides so we can see the little bits in the middle.
It's very
Oh, you got the 3 dots. It's got like forest fairy with the spots of a freshborn doe.
Ooh, there you go.
Pretty.
See, Sophia
You look
described
like
it
a
way better than I could.
inspired.
It's very like what you call it, like fantasy sorceress. Love it.
Yes.
Love
right, now-
y'all. Best hype
10 out of 10.
team ever.
Now read our cards. Now you're gonna bust out the crystal ball and you know.
Yo, I had a random
doing my
stranger off the internet and be like, she was off a dating app. She's like, "Can I draw you 2 cards?" And I'm just like, you know what? Sure, let's see what this lady can get me. And like, I don't know if y'all know much about my personal paradigm and shit. She landed on the Princess of Swords, and her deck had, for some reason, the Alien. And I'm like, checks out. She's fucking. She knows her shit.
You're like, hit me. Ew.
That's cool.
Oh fuck. But yeah, no,
Wow.
Scott, you're right. Like fucking 5-10 years ago, there were gay content creators who were making jokes, and you're starting to see it a little bit more. Like there's this straight guy, I can't remember his last name, but it's like Tony the something on YouTube. He's fucking great. He's straight, and like he made this skit where he like walks into a cafe, and it's like when you walk into a cafe and the vibe's off, and he's like, "You straight?" to the dude and who's like running the cafe, and he's like, "Oh hell no, I'm not letting no straight make me no fucking coffee." And then the guy gets a little bit offended. He's like, "Look, don't be offended. I got it too. You know, I got it, but like I can't even have, you gotta at least be by to make my coffee. You don't even got a fucking nose piercing." It's like, oh my god.
And this is why drag
This is what solidarity looks like.
Yes, and this is why drag is gonna save the world. This is why they hate drag so much, okay? Because drag shows
And trans people coming out.
Yes, drag shows in particular, though. Drag as an art form is the great equalizer. Because you know how many fucking straight people, especially women, I will say it's mostly women that I find, but a lot of straight women fucking love drag shows. A drag show is part sort of burlesque, right? It's part comedy, generally, because they're just you're taking the piss out of the situation of whatever the fuck it is, whatever the character is, you know. And so it's part comedy. It's got this like sexy sort of element to it. It's fun, you know. It's showy. It's real. It's very, very real, and it's the fact that anyone can do it. You know what I mean? Like, some people are like not good actors, but anyone can transform themselves into a drag queen, drag king, whatever. Anyone can do drag, and straight people have fun at drag shows. Gay people have, queer people have fun at drag shows. It's the great equalizer, and I really think that's why they're trying to stamp it out. And yes, I did say drag was sexy. The adult drag shows. Now, when you take a drag queen and you plop her in front of some children, she's not doing that. Okay, she's getting herself done up very prettily. She's very demure, perhaps in her
Very
mindful. Fancy ass dresses.
And she's reading a goddamn children's book. Okay, like
yes.
So Shut up.
I actually have some good news I want to tell y'all that's on a similar note.
Mm.
I don't know. Are y'all on Threads at all?
I am. I
A little
lurk
bit.
there from time to time.
I just go there to read the occasional thing I don't really post. I've noticed a really heartwarming trend on there. Y'all remember Harvey Milk and what made him so famous
Oh,
and so
yes.
important?
Yes.
Legend.
It's because he made that announcement before that bill where he asked everybody who is gay to come out to their family, right?
Yeah.
I'm noticing a mass wave of trans women coming out on Threads. Not necessarily people who were trying to be hidden per se, but people
Right.
who you wouldn't expect to be posting publicly, I am trans, are just like, I'm seeing a lot of it recently. And it kind of looks like a similar thing organically to the Harvey Milk. You got to let people know, you got to be visible. It's dangerous and it does put us on the line, but it's the only thing that really kind of makes hearts and minds change. I'm kind of noticing
Yes.
that happen organically. And also, in a similar note, there was a bill, I can't remember where it was, but it was like against trans something rather in one of the states. And they had invited people to talk for and against it, right? And
The
there's
old
all these
guy?
trans people who came in and give their testimonies. Yes. And the
Yeah.
old guy who gets up on the stand just to say, you know, I want to apologize. I had never met a trans person before tonight, and I was greatly misled by a lot of the lies that I was told, and I feel ashamed that I ever supported this bill, and I want to just apologize and thank you very much for giving me a good education because I needed this. And it's like,
I'll be right
it
there.
makes me want to fucking cry. That's what I mean about somebody engaging in good faith. They're not trying to fucking to pull one over on you or to just be like, gotcha. They're legitimately there, some people, because they believed bullshit. And all it takes is seeing our humanity to make them realize, wow, I'm a piece of shit if I try to take these people's right to live away from them. And it hits so much different, you know? And I see the tide turning. The hate has been loud and it has been in our fucking faces. People are starting to support us because they've been seeing that we're the front line and everything that we've been saying is fucking right. I'm still waiting for a family phone call from my dad where he tells me that I was fucking right because I told him I'm probably going to have to sign up to fight in the armed forces because Trump's going to start threatening Canada. And he didn't listen to me. And here we are now. And it is the most clear and present threat on our side of the border. Right. So it happens over time. And there's always a pushback and negativity when we make progress. Look at how we're getting fucking Trump after in response to Obama, right? But every little bit of progress makes them kick and scream harder as they burn up the last bits of their resistance.
Boss
They're
fight is
losing.
always the hardest minutes before you're about to win. You know, right before that, the moments leading up to that finishing combo are just infuriating.
It may not. It may not feel like it, but we actually have them into the bottom third of their health bar right now, and they're acting very dangerously and floundering because they're scared and they know that they're threatened. And we just have to keep pressing because their defeat is far closer than we understand.
I think for me, my biggest form of protest is probably I'm just trying to spend as little money as possible. And when I do spend it, I'm trying to be incredibly mindful of where and how I'm doing it. That's, you know, partially because that's a response to something like this. The economy is in free fall.
Trump,
you know,
shambles.
Elon lost like $800 billion out of Tesla's value, just the company itself, right? Like,
and also the
it's
company
working.
we work for.
It's just gonna lose X, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah, and also we found out
it's gonna be
within
fucking magnificent.
Yeah, we are, you know, like our company is getting sold and we don't know what's going to happen. So like, you know, there's all kinds of like things happening right now and there's just so much uncertainty. You just kind of like have to hang on, you know, like there's like, of course it's uncertain, but like, and that's why we always go back to, you have to make these connections with people. And I do, we need to include straight people in our circles. We do, because they are everywhere. Okay, just like we're everywhere. They are too.
And you also never know when they're actually going to not be straight and have just felt something their whole life that they've never been able to talk to somebody. And then suddenly at fucking 33 open up to you about gender feels that they didn't tell you when you were fucking 13 years old hanging out in their backyard.
Mhm.
Even that research I talked to you guys about before, years ago, I said that biologists were like, most likely the largest population is probably bisexuality, like,
Yep.
bi pan people.
Mhm.
That research came back up again.
By superiority.
They did it again.
We're the greatest!
They did another study, and most likely, once again, it came back. Most likely, according to the numbers and the data that they collected, we're probably mostly bisexual, pansexual, middle of the, if you will, see it if you see sexuality online.
People are horny for other people.
It's true. We be sluts, and when you fucking overcome your internal Victorian mind saying maybe I shouldn't do this, you'll find out that dating whatever gender that you are holding yourself off from dating is actually pretty fucking great.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
right. And like if you're gay, you're not gonna suddenly like maybe like women. That's different, right? But if you've never actually experimented with your sexuality, fucking try it.
Right.
Seriously. And also, and this is something that I've always said too, allow cis straight men to experiment without ridicule, please.
Or without necessarily trying to pull them into the fold, because we do that too really quickly and it scares them. We need to let them dip their toes in at their own pace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that they need to, that actually helps.
Good.
I felt like, as I always tell my therapist, sometimes it feels like, like the old bathtubs with the plugs. There's really nice, big, large cloth with the rubber stoppers.
You just pull it.
When it goes in, you're like, and it takes some pressure off, and you're like, oh, that feels better.
Because you also have to keep in mind, like, within our, like, just a sacred space coming up, like, yes, is there a huge overlap between queer people and, like, pagan people and, occultism? Yeah, of course, that's why we're doing this whole goddamn podcast. But is there also a ton of straight people, too? Yeah. Yeah. And we love them all the same.
They are still the majority. We are still the minority.
And we love them.
Straight women used to be fucking fag hunters and fag hags back when I was younger, okay? Bring it back. Yeah. Where's your gay bestie?
Yeah.
And that's funny because like we started doing that whole thing like about the GBF and I think it's because like it can go problematic pretty quickly, but
it can.
I think we have to remember. I think one of the things that we're learning in general, and when I say we, I mean like people, like the Homo sapien, is how to temper ourselves when it comes to things. Like you can't just paint with a broad brush, all the time. Some things are specifically what they are, and some things are nuanced and other things are a little different. Not everything is... there are things that are obviously bad, and there are things that, is this bad actually, or is it my perception, and I have to understand what's happening here, right? Mm-hmm. And understanding how to temperance and grace, empathy, and leading with those things a little bit in situations, because maybe the GBF wasn't all bad, maybe it wasn't all bad,
It's what is bad.
I'm learning a lesson today, and I'm actually having to sit with it, but I totally like it.
Also, as much as it sucks to have those shitty straight women in the gay bars, it does help them actually empathize and have gay friends and actually be like showing up for us when we're getting fucked over because they actually care about us in a real way. We can't. I understand the need absolutely to make exclusive spaces just for us, and that still will always exist because by nature, we're just so freaky. They're not going to want to be into everything. Like, you mean to tell me if I go to a fucking queer fetish scene, they're going to show up? No! They're either just really well worked on cishet people who already got their own shit figured out and have done their own shadow integration, or they're just not going to be there. You know, It's pretty easy. We will always have our own spaces, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like even at the bike stop, it's the local Leather Bear Bar here in Philly. Straight people are allowed in, and it's gotten a lot better over the years.
Mm-hmm.
They were definitely shunned and sort of iced out many years ago, but now it's a bit better. But they're all very respectful of the fact that you can go to the first 3 floors, but you cannot go to the pit. There is nothing for you in the pit. The pit is not for you. And you're not going to sit there and
ogle,
get a free show, and it isn't for you, you know. And thankfully, from my understanding, from what I've heard, because I haven't been there in a while, people have been at least pretty respectful of that. They go to the sports bar, they stay on the first floor, or if the dance floor is open all the way up top, they'll do that. But they don't generally go into the pit.
All I can think of now is the
There's
scene from
only
Parks
do
and
not
Rec.
enter.
There's Andy in the pit. And we all live in the pit.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's been an hour and a half. That's a long time. It's not, but it is. It's a long time to be sitting. This was a great talk. Yeah, so what are our concluding thoughts for today?
I have a very brief one, so I'll go first. The goth scene is way more queer than people want to think it is. It's if you want to start making friends with cis hetero people who are easier to get along with, start with goth people, and it's easy to work up from there. We can also really queer that scene up a lot just by showing up because we're already pretty welcome. Anyways, I'm passing the mic.
A lesson that I'm learning today, or maybe always knew but needed to be reminded of, is empathy and compassion are also radical, even in times of mercy as well. They're radical and important, just as much as self-defense and knowing when to act. So don't forget about those things either, because they're just as important.
You are beautiful. You are special. Do not forget your power, because you do have it.
Wonderful. Yeah. I think that kind of wraps things up. I guess I'll do my little plug here. We have a Ko-fi page if you want to support us. We have a couple tiers there. The coolest tier is Hail Satan. You can give us a hail for $6.66 a month. You can hail anything, yourself, a shop, little blurb. We do have a subscriber to that tier. That is Tink, and Tink wants us always to remember Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
And with that, we will see you not next Sunday because we will be at the Sacred Space, but following that.
Thank God.
I guess Sophia has plans.
I have to work Saturday, and that means that I don't necessarily know if I'm going to be rat fucking shitbagged the next day.
Got it. Well, good. You get a nice sleep-in day. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, everyone. We will see you in the next one.
Cat just looked at me like, what the fuck was that?
Bye.
Bye.